Though the racing has not been short of action all through the field this season, Karl Modhoff's dominance of the top step of the podium leaves us with the very real possibility that he could win every single race. Last round showed he could out-strategize his opponents, but we've already seen that there are a few holes in his armors in terms of driving errors. He avoided too much damage with contact at Barber. Then he rebounded from a spin at Sebring. But Road Atlanta has corners that could not just set a driver back, but simply end their race in the blink of an eye. Danger awaits our championship leader, ready to end his run of perfection. We'll see if it does as we get ready to watch Round 6 of the Precision Racing League's American iRacing Tuesday series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel and the iRacing eSports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Taylor Burris. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Doug Beard. Taylor, Road Atlanta seems to play no favorites, and we've seen time and time again, letting your guard down here results in harsh punishment by the track.
Yes, indeed, and welcome everyone to Road Atlanta. Located in Brazelton, Georgia, this beautiful 2.5-mile or 4-kilometer 12-turn track opened in 1970 and is home to one of the biggest motorsports endurance races in the country with the 10 hours of Petit Le Mans. Drivers will face many different challenges here on this twist and winding track. To give you, the fan, to see what it is like to take on this beautiful course, let's go on board for a GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Taylor Burris in the GSRC 4 GT, so let's do a lap around Road Atlanta. Coming down to turn 1, this is a frighteningly fast corner. You might still see some brave passes into here, but a mishap tends to end your day quickly. From there, you'll try to line yourself up over the blind crest of 2 and set up for 3. Knowing your turn-in point will be tricky and require great precision. After that, you'll hug the inside of 4 to set yourself up for the S's. The racing through this valley should be pretty much single file all day, otherwise you're taking an incredible risk. Turn 5 sees a lot of unforced errors, and most drivers pay for it in bodywork with how little runoff there is on either side. Finally, you get a short breather up to 6, which has more camber than you'd expect. That makes it tough to overtake here, and honestly, it's better to set yourself up for 7 anyways. This is the most critical corner of the circuit, with it leading you onto the backstretch. Fail to get a good launch on the exit, and you'll find yourself very vulnerable to attack. You see, it's not just the slipstream that offers your opponents a good opportunity. It's the fact that the turn 10 chicane is one of the heaviest braking zones of the lap. For the layman, that means a majority of the passes you'll see will take place here. So if the other driver doesn't get it done on the straight, they're likely to try to beat you to the apex when you get on the binders. From off the corner, you'll already start aiming the car across the crest and under the bridge. From there, it's very marginal getting through the final corner, which is another really dangerous turn. But hopefully you've kept it together and have now finished the lap around Road Atlanta. It's a relatively short lap around here in the GTE cars, so times have been very, very close. Before we get to the times that are being set in qualifying, though, we want to tell you about the Simulation Motorsports Association. SIMMSA is a sim racing platform created by experienced racers. Established in 2015, the association is bringing together organizations and communities to further promote sim racing globally. Concentrating on all sims worldwide, they offer a focused opportunity for sim races to compete with each other. They also provide consultancy services to this growing esports world. SimMSA offers solutions for racing simulator requirements, custom-built simulator parts, complete customization, and upgrading of existing simulators. You can find them at SIMMSA.net. Big thanks to them for sponsoring this season of the PRL's American iRacing Tuesday series. The championship is pretty straightforward, though, in this season. As we look at the drivers' standings, you can see Karl Modhoff with a 60-point lead. Could possibly clinch it today, but it'll take extraordinary circumstances. Regardless, it is going to take a drastic turnaround for anybody to have a hope to topple Karl. Simon Avital moves up 1 position there into second, along with Flores joining him up into third. It's Eisler who drops 2 positions. He had another bad race, his second race this season, where he found himself in a big accident in the very first lap. Jean-Marc Tremblay stays where he is in 5th, has been just kind of the consistent racer out there this season, 81 points behind our leader. The team championship ever going on as well. Let's go to Taylor for the update on that.
If we look at the team's championship right now, it is actually quite close compared to our driver's championship between the Speedworks Racing Team and the Rigmatech Ether SimSports Team. Tremblay and Flores currently hold on to the lead by 9 points over Griffith and Avatal. While the SDS Racing Team, the Montini brothers, they gain a position moving up into P3 in the points championship, 57 points back, while Bushfink Racing, after a not-so-good finish from Eisler and Coriot not making the race, puts him down to 4th. And then the Andes team, Puma team with Kita and Valenzuela, they're staying put in 5th position, rounding out your top 5 in the team's championship.
If you've never watched one of these races before with these GTE cars, let's give you the skinny on what to expect today. It is round 6 of 8, and they have a single drop week. Now, the points we showed you, do not take those drop weeks into account yet. Once we do, we will tell you how things have changed, but obviously little will change for Modoff, considering he'll drop a win. The cars are the Porsche 911, the Ferrari 488, and the Ford GT. The race distance is 45 minutes. That's the sprint format that they run in this series. That means you can expect a single pit stop out there today. However, they have restricted the fuel compared to what the real cars can run in this GTE class. So they'll go a little bit shorter than you can expect if you were to watch, say, something like Le Mans or IMSA. The incident cap is at 24 incidents. That means they'll be disqualified if they hit that 24 limit, and they have no spare car to save them if they get any damage. And we've seen that have an effect on the racing out there previously. But Taylor, speaking of having an effect on the racing, what are the keys to get the win on the chart today?
Well, one of the biggest keys that drivers will definitely have to face is utilizing and making sure that car is stable through some of these difficult corners. Turn 5 is one of the biggest and most challenging corners that drivers will face. It's uphill, a little off camber, and going over that curbing can easily send your car off into the tire barriers or right across the track into oncoming traffic, which would end your day quickly. Of course, another thing would be strategy. Drivers in 2nd, 3rd, and points in the championship know it's a long shot for them to win these races and beat the championship from Karl Modoff, but they might try to do it to see if there's any way they can at least dethrone him from winning races with these final 2 rounds left in the season. So you may see some drivers strategize a little bit differently when it comes to pit stops later in the race today. And then finally, some drivers might even utilize the slipstream a little bit coming out of turn 7 before the run to turn 10. Even though these cars do not have a large wake in them as far as gaining up to the back bumper of these cars in a straightaway, they can still get a little bit of a pull down that straight in order to try and gain time on their competition in front of them. And Joe, that will be your keys to victory here at Road Atlanta.
Well, we'll watch out for each of those talking points throughout the race. And as you watch this race, don't forget here on IESN, you can subscribe, and we highly encourage you to do that because not only do they have the iRacing, American iRacing Tuesday series here for the PRL, we've also got the Thursday series. We covered Lotus 49's Camel GT here on the Global SimRacing Channel, and you can catch all the World Championship races covered here by our friends on all the various other channels that are here on IESN. All you got to do is click the big red button that says subscribe, and you won't miss a moment. Also, if you're in a business where you have to keep track of the condition of a number of vehicles, whether it be rental cars, limousines, construction vehicles, or many other vehicle types, you got a lot to stay on top of. For people like you, Inspectoride is the fastest way to conduct your vehicle inspections and create reports. You can save time, eliminate paper, keep better inspection records, and simplify your life all from your iPhone, iPad, or Android phone or tablet. You can find out more at inspectoride.com/iRacing, where you can even download a free trial to find out if Inspectoride is right for you. So check it out. Again, that address on the screen is inspectoride.com/iRacing. Taking a look at qualifying right now, Karl Modoff is looking to try and make it 6 for 6. He's taken the pole, but I don't think that'll mean a whole lot right now with about 5.5 minutes left, Taylor. We saw the lead change hands multiple times in the warm-up.
Yes, indeed. And that was between both Modolf Montini and Christian Eisler. Those drivers definitely setting the pace for the field, almost about by 2 seconds earlier by Montini, before actually Montini and Eisler tied. That's right, tied in the practice session, which is very, very cool to see coming out of this race. And we could see more tight battles going on here today. Another surprise that we're seeing is some of those drivers like Jean-Marc Tremblay, who's down towards the back of the field in qualifying. We usually see him up towards mid-pack, up inside the top 6, top 7. So he has a little bit of time left to maybe see if he can gain some as we watch Fernando Bordo right now as he's coming across the line, going to try to complete another lap before the time runs out here.
Now, here's an interesting stat for you I found out as I was taking a look at the points and looking at past races. Simon Avital, who is second in the points right now, he's sitting 8th in the qualifying for the moment. Despite being second in the points, he's never finished on the podium this season. He came awful close last round at Daytona. A mistake on the penultimate lap cost him that one, unfortunately. You see Avital there, the Canadian, racing the number 23 Ferrari today. But it seems like he's very consistent. I just think he needs a little bit more speed if he wants to be a competitor.
That and not making any mistakes, but it also shows that consistency is key. He's been running inside the top 5 for most of the season, just hasn't quite yet broken that podium like you pointed out, Joe. But if we keep an eye on him, if he's able to play his cards out right, he could finally break through and get into the podium.
Wow, I'm looking at the timing sheets right now, Taylor. Our top 5 are separated by barely over a tenth. It is 0.106 of a second going from Modolf in first to Griffith in 5th. So Modolf, Eisler, Flores, Montini, and Griffith look like they are going to have a hell of a battle cut out for them here today, unless we see someone really find some time out there. We talked about the short lap time and how that affects this race. I think we're in for a real stunner.
Yes, indeed. And what's so funny is these top 5 that you see, Modolf, Eisler, Flores, Montini, Griffith, and don't forget Leif Peterson. He's been fast coming through the season as we continue. Those 6 drivers have been the main competition against each other all season long. They've been battling each other and seeing what each other's strategies are to try to see if they can beat. Of course, nobody seems to find a way to try to get by Karl Modolf so far this season. Made small little dents into his armor, but like you pointed out earlier, just seems like no one can stop Karl Modolf this season.
He improved a little bit more. You saw the flash of purple up the top of the screen, and it's now a 14.903, so a little less than 100th faster. Excuse me, a little less than a 10th faster, I should say. Modolf there, of course, having to abandon that lap, and he should have time to get back out if he wants, but it'll only be about 1 time lap, I'm pretty sure. This is Mike Griffith that we're watching down in 5th, coming to the end of his lap into the chicane here. He's currently sitting on a 15 flat himself.
He was a driver that I was quite surprised to see this season of how well. Early on in the season, he was showing quite a bit of speed, but could not close the deals in some points. But as we got from Barber forward, he's definitely shown the speed and how well he can even finish this season, as he's done quite a really good job throughout the season, especially at tracks such as Sebring and Daytona.
Certainly looked like he was going to challenge at Daytona. Unfortunately, a little bit of a slow stop, and then the slowdown penalty on the last lap cost him a better opportunity. We saw him go wide on that last lap. That made that lap means that lap did not count, unfortunately for him, and he's brought it back out. We're on Federico Montini down in 7th. Montini brothers currently both within the top 10. Francisco is in 4th. And Federico's coming down that long back stretch to try and improve on his 15.3, which interestingly was his very first lap here in qualifying, and since then has not managed to go any faster.
Yeah, that can be some of the downfall. No matter what type of car you're racing, sometimes that just first lap that you said, that flying lap, you cannot seem to replicate after time and time again of trying different lines, trying to find that same line that you ran and push the car a little bit more or make an adjustment in the setup. I know it doesn't matter what car you run in, especially in these cars, you can never seem to find the same exact line twice, just about.
And he did not improve on that lap, unfortunately. Cristobal Valenzuela down in 11th at the moment, the Hispano-American driver. firmly in the mid-pack. It's a relatively small field here today, but because it is such a quick lap, that's not a bad thing. It is only 23 I'm seeing signed up, although not everybody has set a lap time. This is James LeBlanc coming down in his now classic orange Porsche, the Fluffy Kitty Ninja's car, going to try and improve on his 18th position.
One of the most fun teams that we watch. These guys are always a blast to watch in the series. Even though they're more towards the mid-pack, they always bring a lot of entertainment to watch them battle with other drivers. And of course, like you said, that iconic paint scheme that they have brought here, and the 007 Porsche is going to try to complete another lap currently. As we watch now, Rodrigo Munoz, he's currently sitting in 19th position. The 09 Porsche having a little bit of trouble here, as he's currently having some difficulties trying to get to it. As we see Jorge Flores now cut through the grass right quick, decided to abandon his lap.
Well, he actually crossed the line after the checkered flag, so he's going to do no better than third place. I see Leif Peterson, who sits in 6th, is going to come across. He improves his time, but not his position. A 15-2 is, if anything, more of a moral victory for him.
One thing I got to say.
Go ahead.
One thing I got to say about Leif Peterson, I got to give him as far as the most improvement throughout the seasons we've seen. I mean, Leif Peterson runs in multiple series that we cover here on the GSRC, and watching him of how well he's just been improving his racecraft, his race times, so from starting up to be a mid-pack driver to now a up-front runner and a podium challenger is quite the improvement. I do got to say so myself for Leif Peterson, so I'm going to be looking forward to watching him here tonight at Road Atlanta.
And our last car on track, Simon Avital abandons his final lap. That solidifies our finishing order. That means Karl Modoff will once again take another pole. He hasn't gotten all of them. He hasn't been perfect in those terms, but they pay the points mostly on Sunday. Well, I guess Tuesday in this case. Christian Eisler is going to start next to him on the front row in 2nd place. Eisler going to want a little bit of a better start for this race. Jorge Flores will be P3. He challenged well for the win last round in Daytona as well. Francisco Montini starts 4th with row 3, starting out with Mike Griffith in P5. The outside is going to be 6 for Leif Peterson. Federico Montini starts 7th with Simon Avital not improving on that final lap. He'll be P8. Aaron Thacker, 9th is a good qualifying, you have to say, for the 816 Ford. And then Jean-Marc Tremblay starts in 10th. Taylor?
Cristobal Valenzuela will start in the 11th position, followed by Fernando Borda in 12th. Lee Lucas will start in the 13th position alongside Corey Clark. Joey Trungale will start in the 15th position, followed by Lucio Vargas in 16th. Takeshi Kida will start in 17th position, followed by James LeBlanc in 18th. 19th goes to Rodrigo Munoz, and Hugo Galaz rounds out your top 20.
Then 21st will be Jeff Jacobson, Danny Duchesne 22nd, and Jerome Bertome. The last 2 drivers not able to get a time in. Jerome bringing up the rear of the field. They're lining up behind the roof pace car, getting ready for the pace lap. Again, this is round 6 that we're watching here today at Road Atlanta in the American iRacing Tuesday series. Looking through the stats of the drivers and a couple other interesting notes. Of course, Karl Modoff is the only driver who's taken top 5s in every single round. The closest car in terms of that next is Christian Eisler. He's taken 4 out of the 5 in the top 5. And then you've got 2 cars that have managed 3 finishes within the top 5. That is Simon Avital and Jean-Marc Tremblay. Christian Eisler down there, who has managed 3 top 5s there. It's Jorge Flores who has managed 4. I think I might have said Eisler had them. So it's been very inconsistent for everybody else, which just makes it all the harder for anybody to try and catch the likes of Modoff. And judging by his pace out there in qualifying as well in the warm-up, it might be another win for him on the board. But, Taylor, we've got to run the race first, and we've seen some very, very fast drivers in recent races here at Road Atlanta throw potential wins away.
Yes, indeed, and we've seen that happen, especially a couple of seasons ago when we had Ben Perez along here racing at this track. It was a very close battle between him, Eisler, who were almost battling out the entire season amongst those two before we saw Ben Perez take home the championship. And then, of course, we saw last season where Drlica just put on a dominating performance, but did have to deal with the likes of Karl Modov towards the late stages of the race. So any small mistake can happen, whether it be on the track or even on pit road. So drivers are going to have to remain focused and make sure they hit their marks everywhere throughout this entire race.
This is that action zone we talked about, turn 5, especially the exit of it. Expect a few drivers to fall afoul of it before the day is over. As they come up into 6, and then the critical turn 7.
Turn 7 is going to be so important to get a good run-off corner exit here. Drivers need to make sure that they wash up to the track to right where that little curbing is, but not go over it. Otherwise, you will definitely kill your speed down this long back straightaway to where drivers behind you can easily overtake you, or the competition in front of you will pull away very quickly from you.
Taylor talked about this backstretch offering a little bit of a draft to help you up on your competitors. Wonder if we'll see something similar to Daytona, where we had 7 drivers at the start of the race break away and create a train with the draft. That, of course, eventually whittled down to 4. And then after the pit stops, it all broke apart as Modov managed to save more fuel than anybody and jump the rest of his opponents. So they come around the chicane. Modov going to lead them to the green flag as the roof pace car already getting ready to pull into the pit lane. Modov coming down the hill, waiting patiently, and the green flag is out. He takes off, and poor Christian Eisler finds himself on the outside of Jorge Flores after the green flag falls. They come up to the first corner. Is Christian brave enough around the outside? Yes, indeed, he is. Looking to see if we had any incidents back through turn 1. I'm not seeing any, so they head to turn 3, Taylor.
Yes, indeed, but it looked like Mike Griffith got loose coming out of turn 3. He's now going to worry about Leif Peterson as we now have a 4-car breakaway coming up out of the S's into turn 5. Let's see who survives this corner so far. Oh, Mike Griffith then lose control out of turn 5, makes contact with Simon Avital. What a mess right now. Drivers trying to avoid the incident, but 2 of our top 5 runners and more cars make contact onto Simon Avital.
Oof, it is a big, big mess. Avital going for a tumble and not able to do anything to avoid all the other cars. You can see this started with Griffith, and unfortunately that wall is so close, there was just it just bounced him right back in, Taylor.
It did. If you notice what happened to Jorge Flores, almost, I would like to try to see if we can get on board of that and look above him when he was driving. I mean, it's amazing that he did not get any contact from him at all. As we go on. Oh, looks like he lost it coming into turn 6, actually.
Yeah, and that was Rodrigo Munoz who hit the second time on Avital. Let's watch Flores one more time. Let's see who got into him. Was that Clark? No, it was not. It was Francisco Montini. As we come back live. Yeah, that was Francisco Montini in the 06 that made contact there with him. Already the drivers are coming around for lap 2. Your order for the top 5 after that big incident is Karl Modov in the lead, Christian Eisler in 2nd, Francisco Montini out up to 3rd. Peterson finds himself in 4th, and Federico Montini is in the top 5. He's in a little bit of a fight right now. This is him putting an overtake on Leif Peterson down into the chicane, successfully demotes the 913.
Really good textbook pass that we saw the Montini did coming out before they get into turn 10. Now he's starting to pull a gap over Leif Peterson, as now right behind them, Jean-Marc Tremblay now has to battle with Aaron Thacker, Mr. Consistency, as they go into turn 1. He comes over the curb a little bit. He's got to be careful not to lose the car right now. Coming up into turn 2 and 3. These two have been battling a little bit right now. Thacker trying to find a way to close the gap after that mistake he had going into turn 1, but Jean-Marc has feel a comfortable gap going up into turn 5. Let's see if he does a good smooth transition. No incidents. Yes, indeed. He will now start to run his race now and try to keep Aaron Thacker behind him.
And look at the big gap up ahead of Jean-Marc Tremblay up to Leif Peterson. It's already 2.5 seconds. A little bit of a pass behind them. I think that was Lee Lucas getting by Corey Clark into turn 7. I think he may regret that because already Clark has got a big draft.
He's got a good run. He's going to look to the outside, of course, inside of turn 9. But before they get to turn 10, Lucas will have that inside line, though, to set up for the chicane. But Corey Clark's going to make contact right there. Oh, there goes Corey Clark as well as Lee Lucas through the grass. Oh, that was not something that Lucas definitely didn't want to happen as Joey Trungale gets by him. If we get a replay of that, that was not what we wanted to see between the two drivers.
Yep, down into the braking, tried to bring it back to the racing line. They became a little close to the edge, and poor Corey Clark finds himself another car hitting the concrete. "40 minutes left. We've only had 5 minutes, and already we've had quite a lot happen out here on track." This is Eisler still giving chase, but has dropped back about 2 seconds from Carl Modoff, Taylor.
Yes, indeed. And to make a quick little update with that incident on lap 1, that was actually Jean-Marc Tremblay that went underneath both Avital and Griffith, which was quite a surprise. I mean, watching the onboard of that when I was going over the replay for that was something quite amazing. It's amazing that he did not make any contact with those two cars here. But he's currently right now having a battle with Aaron Thacker. Thacker got by him for the 6th position and is starting to lose a little bit of ground as Fernando Bordas closing in behind him.
Right on board with Francisco Montini, who's giving chase on the likes of Christian Eisler. But let's head back in the middle of the pack because Lee Lucas is ahead of the likes of Joey Trungale, Lucio Vargas, and James LeBlanc. They are incredibly close together on track. I'm surprised nobody made a move down into the chicane with how closely they were riding on one another. But coming into turn 1, a little wide through that first corner, Lee Lucas manages to hold off the likes of Trungale. Oh, closing under braking. Look at Vargas, though, on Trungale. Can't do anything with it off the corner, but they are very much starting to threaten. And on top of it, they've got a charging Jorge Flores who has reached the back.
Jorge Flores is a man on a mission right now. He's going to try to get to the back bumper of James LeBlanc, look to the inside before they go to turn 6. He's going to have to give that position and wait until they get to turn 7 to see if he can challenge coming down into turn 7. He gets a great line off corner exit, goes over the curbing nice and smooth. Jorge Flores now going to try to get into the slipstream of James LeBlanc to see if he can make a pass before they get to turn 10. Let's see what he's able to do. Down the back straightaway, he's closing in little bit by little bit, takes a peek to the outside. Here they go. James LeBlanc tries to defend but cannot. Flores side by side into turn 10. Who's going to be the bravest one? Flores is going to hold on and take that position from James LeBlanc.
There's one more down for the 929 up to 13th. Next will be Vargas. That side-by-side action did cost them a little time, though. LeBlanc's not giving up on this. Look at how close he's riding behind. Takes a little peek down to the inside of turn 1, but don't think that one's going to happen.
No, he was definitely wanting to put that pressure on to Jorge Flores as they go up into turn 3 right now. LeBlanc loses it a little bit, gets a little loose coming off. Now Jorge Flores gets a great run. He's closing really quickly to the back of Vargas as they make the run up to turn 5. Let's see, no issues out of turn 5. Drivers make it through nice and clean. As we see right behind them, Rodrigo Munoz now closing into the back bumper of James LeBlanc to challenge for 14th.
Flores certainly making very short work of this group of cars. How quickly he caught up to Vargas really impresses me. They've hit the backstretch again. He's not as close to Vargas as he was to LeBlanc last time, so not sure that he'll have an opportunity as that green and black Ferrari continues to gain. Down into the chicane one more time. He's going to have to ride behind for the moment. This is where most of the action has been. We haven't missed a whole lot. Whoa, is LeBlanc. He's backwards on track in the chicane. That was due to a pass attempt by Rodrigo Munoz, but not a successful one.
Get the replay right there. You see Munoz try to dive to the inside, but LeBlanc makes that contact with him, and then boom, right there, sends both cars into the gravel trap as well as the grass. Unfortunate for both drivers, as they were both having really good runs here tonight.
I was going to say maybe Munoz understeered a little bit, but he got pinched slightly. That looked more like hard racing to me. Hard to put the blame on either driver. Munoz did get away ahead. Oh, does Corey Clark have a problem? Corey Clark only had a small problem. We don't need the replay up through turn 5. Just a bobble loses him out. So Munoz now up one more into 14th. As we take a look at Christian Eisler. This is Francisco Montini in the Ferrari. That white machine behind the orange, black, and white number 727 of Christian Eisler. He's been giving chase. He's been applying a little bit of pressure here, Taylor, but I haven't seen any pass attempts yet. Haven't really noted any, but all it takes is one mistake around here.
I think Francisco is biding his time, waiting for that mistake to happen to maybe make that pass onto Christian Eisler, move to P2 as they're making the run out of the S's up into turn 5. This could be a good opportunity to see if Christian makes a mistake. Even though he shouldn't make one, it still means anyone can make a mistake out of turn 5. No mistakes for Eisler. He starts to pull away down this straightaway before they get to turn 6. It is still going to be Eisler holding off Francisco Montini, while Federico, Francisco's brother, is about 2.2 seconds back and closing.
Gets a decent run down the back stretch. Is this going to be enough to give him a chance in the draft? He's closing in. He's got it down to 0.2 of a second now, getting quicker and quicker, but he lifts before the braking zone. I think he's going to wait for a safer opportunity. Behind them, there has been a fantastic battle between Lee Lucas and Jorge Flores. They went through turn 1 side by side. Flores has had to wait patiently for the backstretch to give him another opportunity, but Lucas is going to make life hard. He defends the inside line into the corner, and just not enough grip at that first apex. Flores has to set himself up for another go later.
Yes, indeed. Lucas did a great job of defensive driving going into that chicane and gets a great exit off. But here comes Jorge Flores, though. He's going to try again. Go stick his nose into turn 1. He's going to look to the inside. Not close enough as we see Lucas shut the door on him as they make the run up to turn 2.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Lucas not going to give him the opportunity down into that first corner. Look how closely he's riding behind. Jorge really desperately trying to get up there, almost gets into the back of him through turn 5, rides over the big curb on the exit, somehow doesn't lose the car, but boy, is he putting this thing at risk.
He is. He's putting a lot of pressure to the back bumper of Lucas as they go out of turn 7. Let's see what he's able to do down this straightaway. He's a lot closer. He's going to see if he can maybe peek up Lucas defending the inside line. Let's see. Jorge Flores now goes to the outside. They're going to go side by side as they make it down and run to the back straightaway towards the turn 10 chicanes. He's got his nose out in front of Lucas, who's going to be the braver of the two. Contact almost a little bit right there into turn 10. A little bit of aggressive driving right there as Jorge Flores, though, has the inside line off of the chicanes. They're going to still be side by side coming out of the chicane into turn 11, but I think Lucas might have to give way. And he does as Flores makes the pass.
Ooh, did he ever get aggressive? He tried to pinch him down on the entry. And a little bit of a peek from Lee up into turn 1 does not produce results. Flores solidifies that top 10 position, but not without a little elbow grease.
Well, this brings in our two other drivers. This is Lucio Vargas along with Trung Gale. They're right behind Lee Lucas right now, and they're going to challenge for that position. Coming out of turn 5, they go. Let's see what they're able to do with Lee Lucas, the Florida Club driver.
Not quite close enough up towards turn 6, setting themselves up for the back stretch. This is where that battle erupted last time. Anybody going to get a run on Lucas? Trungale does not look that great off of 7, but Vargas does. I don't know if he's close enough to start reeling him in, though. We'll see.
He'll have to close in under braking going into the turn 10 chicanes. Let's see what he does. He gets a great late braking. He closes right into the back bumper, but let's see what he does on corner exit. It goes about the same like it was before they got into the braking zone. So he's going to have to work a little bit harder coming out of turn 12.
If you're a fan of the number 48 car, yes, he's still in this race. He's leading, and it's about 3.5 seconds. It's not a monstrous lead. There you see Karl Modoff, the championship leader, just basically running away with another one at this point. He's going through a little bit of lap traffic. That was Danny Duchesne, who had a spin out of turn 1 not too long ago. That's why he's so far back. Christian Eisler probably a little bit less worried about Modoff and more worried about Francisco Montini, who continues to give chase for that second place.
Yeah, Francisco doing a lot of work right now as they tried to get to the back bumper of Eisler to try and see about making a pass. I think right now he's just being patient, not putting a whole lot of pressure on Eisler, but enough to where if Eisler does make a mistake, Montini is there to definitely pounce. As they go into turn 10, on board, we see he's closing in, staying at that same gap like we last saw. Under the Suzuki Bridge they go, and to complete another lap here at Road Atlanta.
Now, despite the Montini brothers usually being drivers who have speed at most of the races, only between the two of them, only one podium so far this season, and that's Federico Montini. Francisco's yet to get his. If he could stay where he is, he could yet see one. Now the lap traffic of Duchesne is right in front of these two. Could this offer an opportunity? Oh, and a spin from Duchesne sends him off course. He doesn't hit the wall, but a hairy moment causes a checkup for Eisler, and now Francisco is all the closer.
That was definitely something that Eisler did not need, especially after last round at Daytona, but it was able to sneak on by away from Duchesne before it got any worse.
Down the back stretch, Montini closing in once again. Could he take a look? He's a lot closer. A defensive move from Christian Eisler, going to cover him off down towards the braking zone. Ooh, these guys are getting a little bit feisty. And as this was going on, we had a change for 9th position. Flores managed to get by Cristobal Valenzuela. I believe this was either out of the last corner or into the first one. Looks like it was down into turn 1. Sets him up coming out of the final turn. Just carries his speed right up under that rear spoiler. Gets brave, and the Ferrari overtakes the port.
What a pass indeed for Jorge Flores.
Flores.
What a drive. Yeah. What a drive, though. I mean, coming back from the back after that incident and spinning in turn 6 on lap 1 to get back up through the field right now. I mean, what a drive indeed, as he now has his eyes set on none other than Fernando Borda in P8.
Man, I'm just amazed at how he's collected himself and charged back up through the field. And I think as, well, he's going to try and make another pass. Hard to tell where to look because P2 is actually getting ready to go side by side, and it is going side by side right now. Another defensive move from Eisler down to the chicane, but this time Montini tries to go the long way around into the first apex. He backs out of it and lives to fight another day. The 06 still in that third spot. Changing positions, we switch back to the battle for 8th, and Flores easily by, showing how it's done into 10 and 10A.
I tell you what, Jorge Flores is a driver definitely to watch. I mean, even though he's had some unfortunate events early in the season, just makes you wonder, could he have taken the fight to Karl Modoff if it wasn't for those incidents? We've seen him go toe-to-toe with Karl Modoff throughout the season, but just amazing at the speed that this driver has here.
Before this race today, he had a hat trick of podiums, 2 second places and a third. It's looking a little bit less likely that he'll be able to make it 4 in a row. Back onto the back stretch we go with Eisler and Montini. Francisco now joined by Federico, who's up into 4th. And down the back stretch, I'm not sure that Francisco's quite close enough this time by. Definitely not looking as much of a threat to Eisler as they hit the braking for the chicane. And he will indeed stay in line. Doesn't even poke his nose out.
Nope, not at all. He's going to have to wait another lap to see if he can get a good run off of turn 7 and see if he can close that gap. But out of the turn 12 down the front straightaway they go. Eisler still doing a great job of holding him up, needing to try to get a good finish here after that round at Daytona.
Down in 11th place, had a little bit of a look from Vargas on Lee Lucas. Couldn't quite make it stick, though. That is Vargas that you see in the blue, black, and red machine. Lee Lucas in the green Porsche, just up ahead with the yellow spoiler. Through turn 1, he had fallen back a little bit out of that final corner, so he's going to have to regain that ground all over again.
Yes, indeed, and it's going to be a little bit tougher right now because Lucas has been pulling away now from the likes of Lucio Vargas as they come up towards turn 5. Let's see what he's able to do. Not able to close any gap right now at the moment. He's going to have a little bit of work to do here tonight.
And this is the corners where you really want to do it. 6 can gain you a little bit of speed, and 7 can get you an opportunity, but I'm not sure if it's going to do that now. But in 7th, it is very, very close, and in fact, side by side between teammates. Jean-Marc Tremblay has Jorge Flores going on through, and the 929 is now in 7th with, I think, a little bit less of a fighting spirit from his fellow driver within his team.
Yeah, I think he was just moved over, let Jorge Flores go by. He knows Jorge is a lot faster, and I think Jean-Marc is just looking to complete the race and get those points he needs to maybe try to move up a little bit.
Yeah, Speedworks wanted to make the best of the situation, so that moves the likes of Flores up to a 5-second gap behind Thacker, his next on the list to try and take down. And pit stops seem to maybe have started now. Corey Clark with some damage trying to take an early stop.
Corey Clark in his Porsche came down pit road. Going to go ahead and start working on the car, maybe repair those damages as well as add the needed fuel to complete this race.
On screen, we got a battle though. Sorry to interrupt, but this is a lot more in favor of Francisco Montini. He had a nose ahead down into the braking, squirming to try and get the car to stop. Christian Eisler denies him again, but I think Montini is getting closer and closer to making that move stick.
I saw that Eisler just losing the car almost as they go into the chicanes. What a save and what a drive and what a defensive move that we saw Eisler do. But Montini is definitely on the hunt. He has been putting that pressure now as they come up over turn 3, down the S's. Again, they go. Montini definitely trying to find that hole needed to make the pass.
Well, he's trying pretty much the same thing over and over again, but even though it hasn't worked yet, I got to give him credit that he's been sizing up the likes of Christian Eisler for a number of laps. It's almost strategic the way he's trying to execute this overtake. Down the backstretch for yet another time in this 45-minute race. Francisco Montini starting to close as they plunge down the hill into the chicane. I'm not sure that he's going to be able to get this one done. And he does take a little bit of a look to try and see if he can shake the likes of Eisler, but Christian's too cool of a customer for that. That's why they call him the Iceman.
Looking at Leif Peterson right now, he's actually closing that gap on Federico Montini. Federico ran a 16.0 compared to Peterson's 15.9. As Peterson now goes into turn 1, but he has been slowly but surely closing into the back bumper of that Ferrari as they go up over into turn 3 and down the S's a go.
Federico trying to chase his brother and has been holding a decent gap up to him, we must say, but certainly not threatening. Could be there to pick up the pieces if things really erupt between Francisco and Christian. And indeed it might, because Francisco's looking very, very close this time through. He takes a lot of curb. Did he manage to get the power down well enough? We ride on board with the Ferrari now. And I think maybe just a little bit too much curb there, Taylor. He was so close this time.
I think a little bit too much curb indeed, but they make the run down the hill into turn 10. Noticing Montini's braking a little bit later compared to Eisler. At that time, Eisler braked a little bit later now, but up out of the chicanes they go. Montini really trying to get a good exit that he needs to try to get right beside Eisler again, but right now it's not seem to be working in Montini's favor.
He's trying his heart out. 21 minutes left to go. We are past halfway in this race now. They've lost another 3 seconds up to the leader. It's 6.6 back between Modov and Eisler. At this point, it's a battle for best of the rest. Up and through the treacherous turn 5. Montini taking a little less of that outside curve than Christian Eisler, and it is once again helping him gain at this critical moment up towards turn 6. Let's see if he learned his lesson. Oh, and he gets into the back of Christian. Christian gets turned around, and he's stuck in the middle of the track. Federico has to take avoidance maneuvers to get by him, and that hands Leif Peterson third place. But now Eisler finds himself tumbling down the order all the way to 5th. Let's watch the replay from onboard Francisco.
It seems like we see Eisler get over the curbs a little bit and maybe has to check up in order to set up for that next corner of turn 7, and that caused Montini to get into the back bumper. So unfortunate for Eisler and Montini, as they were both having good runs. Francisco Montini was able to pull away or move into the P2 position, but he is now under pressure by Leif Peterson now as they go into turn 1.
So we come back live. The Porsche, and Christian Eisler also under threat. That's Aaron Thacker, who had a try, who spins out in turn 1 and is now going to lose positions himself. Let's watch from onboard Thacker. He just lose the car, too much curve. What happened here?
Go on board looking and seeing. He does get into the inside, but I think it was entry. Just loses a car a little bit. Car snapped on him, and unfortunate for Mr. Consistency, he's going to be dropping back a couple of positions here.
Yep, that bumps him down to 9th. This is Francisco, who I was talking about before we had to jump to that battle we saw on screen, being chased by Leif Peterson. It is now a battle for P2, but only one of our players is still there and is in a different position. Montini having to learn how to defend instead of attack now. And Christian Eisler, I said he was called the Iceman, but he does lose his cool from time to time. And I know last round at Daytona, he was relatively upset about being taken out on the first lap. And I have a feeling that second race in a row where he finds himself being run into, he's going to be a little bit frustrated.
Maybe that ice might be melting just a little bit here as tempers may flare, especially at a track like this at Road Atlanta. So I have to keep an eye and see what Eisler does the next time we go racing or later on today in this race.
Pit stop starting to happen. We have a number of drivers coming in, but I fear Fernando Borda might be making a long one, because after he hit the cones, he accelerated up quite a bit and then had to come back down to racing speed. You can see this is Jean-Marc Tremblay in there as well, and Aaron Thacker, who's elected to come in. Tremblay is the first out, Thacker, and now Borda having to serve his time. Indeed, he does have a speeding penalty, the 227, stationary for an extra 15 seconds.
That is going to be costly for Fernando Borda, because here comes Carl Modov. That's going to put him one lap down at least. Aaron Thacker and Jean-Marc might be able to pull away possibly, but it seems like nobody is stopping the likes of Carl Modov. Has an 11-second gap over Francisco Montini.
We should point out, Modov will have to pit still, so he'll hand that lap back. Now, he could yet still chase him down before the race is over with 18 minutes left. The real story right now is the battle for P2 between Montini and Peterson. Everything else out on track has started to separate.
Yeah, this is really the only major battle going on here on the track. Leif Peterson in his Porsche trying to find a way to get to the back bumper of Francisco Montini in his Ferrari, coming out of turn 7. Down the back straightaway they go. They have a little bit of lap traffic right in front of them. That is the likes of Joey Trungale. I'm pretty sure that won't be a major issue as they make the run down the back straightaway.
I can report that Rodrigo Munoz has also come in for his stop. Right now, your highest bidder is Tremblay in P10, which he recently inherited with Munoz coming in for his stop. We're still waiting for... Oh, no, we're not. Carl Modov comes in and pits.
Early stop indeed for Karl Modov. Usually we see him one of the last drivers to come down pit road, but feeling confident, he decides to pit a little bit early. This will hand the lead over to Francisco Montini, but remember, both he and Leif Peterson will have to pit as they work their way past Rodrigo Munoz now going into turn 3.
Eisler also pits. Jorge Flores is actually very close to Eisler, which makes sense since both of them have had spins in this race, costing them roughly the same amount of time. Valenzuela and Lucas also coming down the lane. So at this point, we're waiting on Francisco Montini, Leif Peterson, Federico Montini, Vargas, and that is it. 4 cars left out there. And Flores seems to be a little bit slow. Did he also get a speeding penalty or... Yep, that looks like a speeding penalty. He was about 15 seconds longer than everybody else around him. Really unfortunate that that's just adding to the woes of the number 929 today. Meanwhile, our new leader comes in, Francisco Montini, going to hand it back over. Leif Peterson follows him. Federico does. And then we got Vargas left to go. I expect he'll also be in very soon.
Yes, indeed. And this will give the lead back over to Karl Modov. He's coming out of turn 12 right now to take that position back. And he will have probably another large lead by the time they're done. There he goes, right by the leader on pit road into turn 1. New leader and back up to the front, Karl Modov.
It's looking ever more likely that he's got a 6 for 6 on his hands. And again, this will not clinch the championship, though Avital... Actually, where is Avital? Is he still racing even? Oh, no, he's not. Oh, this battle for P10, though, looking pretty intense. That's Lee Lucas and Jorge Flores fighting for position after Jorge served his speeding penalty. Gonna go the long way around at turn 1. That'll be a hard ask. He looks for the over-under. He carries the speed, but a defensive move to the inside from Lucas is gonna cover him off. Can he get it slowed up? Both of them almost taking to the grass coming out of that corner. Cars on the ragged edge to try and fight for a top 10.
Both of these drivers on the ragged edge trying to find a way to get by or defend from each other. Coming out of turn 5 down the back straightaway they go. Jorge Flores all over the back bumper of Lee Lucas, ducks to the inside, shows there's not close enough to make the pass into turn 6. Still Lee Lucas holding off into 7 now. Lee Lucas gets a little bit wide off of there. This could be the opportunity. Jorge needs to close the gap. He's going to poke his nose to the outside, try to take the long way around before they get to turn 10.
He's got a little bit more momentum. And I think this might be a done deal because Flores certainly has been fast out there. I expect he'll be better on the brakes than the Porsche. And indeed, Lucas almost outbrakes himself into the corner and loses ground, not just on his way in, but on his way out as well. So we jump over to the battle for third. Leif Peterson has lost touch with Francisco and is now instead battling with his brother Federico, challenging for the podium.
Now having to hold off another Montini brother right now. Leif Peterson trying to hold on. Going into turn 7 they go. I think Leif got a better exit off of turn 7 compared to Federico as they're making the run down the back straightaway.
Bit of an update on one thing I was curious about before. I remembered Avital was the first car to DNF with that monstrous crash we saw in turn 5 on lap 1. So let's stay on this battle. But just an update, because of that, I think I might have to retract what I said, and Karl Modov could actually possibly win the championship here today, because Avital, who is in second, will get the least amount of points down there with last place. And then we've got Flores, who's next in line in the points, well down the order, and Christian Eisler also has had problems. He's one of our top 5 drivers. And who was the other one? I'd have to check the stats real quick. But that's a lot of the drivers who were close to challenging Modov, having really bad days on a day when Modov is going to get a bonus point for pole and get victory. He could also manage to get a bonus point for fastest lap. I'd have to check to see who's got that right now. regardless to say, the stars are aligning in Modov's favor for potentially getting an incredibly early championship victory.
I believe, to answer that question about who has the fastest left, I believe it is going to be Modov with a 15.1. So, I mean, talk about winning it all here today, possibly in just one race. The pole position, the race, the fastest lap, and you're possibly looking at a champion here as well, clinching it here tonight.
Just not fair that one person should be so fast and consistent. Carl Modov, we said he's not without his mistakes, but let's jump back to 6 because Jean-Marc Tremblay having to go defensive from Aaron Thacker, and Aaron can't quite pull it off, but he's looking threatening. Oh, and Francisco Montini with a mistake in turn 1. There's some damage on the car. It doesn't look extensive. How hard did he hit the wall here?
It was a pretty good lick. He hit that curb. The car just snapped loose then again on him. And then into the inside barrier he goes.
Yes, indeed. It does drop him down to 5th. I'm curious how well that car is driving because he hit the corner of the car. Never a thing that you want to do. Damaging suspension potentially. Now, did Lee Lucas take a second stop, or did you just run really long? Oh, no, he didn't take a stop. He lost a position with an error in turn 1 just recently on this lap. That cost him the position to Lucio Vargas, who moves up into 11th. Not sure if we can get a replay, but if we could get an onboard from Vargas, it was very, very tight for this moment. Let's see if we've got it pulled up. Ooh, there we see just in time as he takes avoidance maneuvers going to the outside of turn 1 to try to get around the spinning Porsche. Just a little bit of wheels into the dirt, coming into the corner, snaps the car around.
P6 is heating up right now as Aaron Thacker was able to make a pass on Jean-Marc Tremblay into turn 1, but Jean-Marc not done yet. Tries to close the gap into turn 3, but has to back off just a little bit. Move Aaron Thacker into P6 as they make the run to turn 5. Let's see if both of them make it through cleanly. So far they do as we get the replay now. And watch this, Joe. I mean, this was a textbook pass from Mr. Consistency himself. I tell you what, this is the end of the season that we've been wanting to see from Aaron. Get back inside the top 10, top 6 right now.
As we come back live, Leif Peterson. Oh, Leif Peterson might have been overtaken by the likes of Federico Montini, but a beautiful over-under through the chicane takes it right back. Man, he just positioned that car perfectly, and when Federico found himself sliding. Oh, what was that smoke for? Do we have a big accident there?
Don't see anything.
Oh, no, it was an almost spin from James LeBlanc. Don't need to see the replay. He just had to gather the car together. Stay with this battle. Leif Peterson started the race in 6th place. He's up to 2nd. Federico from 7th to 3rd. I'm sure he'd like to do one better in that number 5 machine. But he's going to have to try and get through the likes of that Texas driver.
Another driver who would like to do one better is that of Cristobal Valenzuela, as he's trying to get up to the back bumper of Jean-Marc Tremblay, but has to worry about Jorge Flores right behind him. The battle for P7 heating up as Flores gets a great run out of turn 7. He goes, has to back off just a little bit now, but going to utilize the slipstream to close in to the back of Cristobal Valenzuela. Let's see if he's going to try to pick his nose through going into turn 10.
I hope he doesn't pick his nose through
I hope
there.
not either, because that would not be a good idea. But as they go down into turn 10, he's not close enough right now. He's going to have to follow suit. But as we see a little lockup from Cristobal Valenzuela. This could be the opportunity for Jorge Flores to stick his nose into the inside of turn 12, but decides to think twice.
Yep, but he's still got that good run. Could maybe challenge up into the first corner. He heads to the inside. And wow, brave stuff from Cristobal Valenzuela. He didn't chop him off, but he managed to keep the position and hold him at bay. Jorge is probably wondering how many times have I got to climb through this field.
Well, it looks like it's going to be another time right now as we are in the closing minutes, under 10 to go out of turn 5 now. We see Jorge Flores get another great run on Cristobal Valenzuela, heading up to turn 6. Not close enough, but he gets late into the brakes in there, gets right up closing to the back bumper. Into turn 7 they go. Let's see who gets the better exit off. I think it's going to be quite even right now. Let's see what he does. Coming down the back straightaway they go. Jorge Flores, a man on the mission to get back up towards the top 5. He's going to get closer and closer. Now he's going to stick his nose to the inside. Valenzuela's going to try to defend, but it's too little too late. Valenzuela trying to pinch him, but has to give way now into turn 10.
Oof, we are seeing some desperation from both sides. Jorge Flores was not willing to give that one up. He's up to P8, and he's still within striking distance of Jean-Marc Tremblay with 6 minutes left to go on the clock. Let's go back to second place, though. And Federico Montini, despite handing the position away when he barely had it, is now threatening on the likes of Leif Peterson.
Yes, indeed. He is definitely trying to close that gap right now.
And they're on to the back stretch. Now, he was close into 7, but I think he maybe hurt his exit slightly. Federico Montini still closing in. He's got the draft on him. We're looking out from the back of Peterson now. He looks to the inside. Federico going to try and dive it in. Can he make it stick this time? Last time through, he made a mistake. This time through, he does not. Still an over-under attempted from Leif Peterson. He carries the speed down the hill to complete the lap, and now he has to back off in the final corner. Beautiful stuff from the number 5 machine.
That was a power move indeed into turn 10, but let's not give up on Leif Peterson. He's going to try to come back to him. The Texan driver now all trying to close in into turn 3. Has to check up just a little bit, but gets right to the back bumper of Francisco Montini. Going down the S's, Montini pulls a gap now as they make the run up to turn 5.
Yeah, I think he's got himself safe now. In the meantime, as that was happening, Jorge Flores got another one. I told you that he had the likes of Jean-Marc Tremblay in his sights. Well, once again, his teammate playing very nice for him and lets him through.
Yes, indeed. Now he's got his eyes set on Mr. Consistency, Aaron Thacker, as he is really flying up through turn 5 now, and now closing the gap to Aaron Thacker as they make the run to turn 6. I mean, tell you what, Jorge Flores is just a man on a mission. This kid is flying through this course, picking him up, putting him down very quickly.
Yep, despite a few problems, he's not letting him phase him where he can. That's Aaron Thacker there you see just up ahead of him. And I don't think that Aaron Thacker is by any means safe from Flores, even though we've got, what, maybe 3 laps to go here?
Nobody's safe from Jorge Flores. I mean, it's just a matter of time. Once he gets to you, it's just best to just go ahead and give to position, because you know Jorge Flores is going to battle you and get by you no matter what you do so far. I mean, he dropped all the way back to 16, climbed his way back up into the inside the top 10, dropped back again, and now is looking at a 6th place position. Maybe, only though 3 laps, something would have to happen for Christian Eisler for him to get to 5th, but still, he is a man on a mission here.
I guess you could say nobody expects the Hispano-American Inquisition with the 929 continuing. I think he'll take the record for most overtakes for sure in this race. 2.5 minutes now to go, and Modov crossing the line with 17.5 seconds over the next car back, which is currently Federico Montini, who's pulled a gap himself on the driver he was fighting, Leif Peterson, looking at another podium. Back in 8th position, Cristobal Valenzuela gaining on Jean-Marc Tremblay. I think Jean-Marc regretting giving up that time that he did to hand the position over, because Cristobal's got a huge head of steam down into the corner, somehow makes the apex, move the 333 up to P8 now.
What an overtake indeed into turn 10. A lot of drivers been making some good passes going in there. And then, of course, we've seen some failed attempts as well. But I tell you what, turn 10 is the place to watch all the passing going on here at Road Atlanta.
A lot of passing in the late stages of this race. I think that's due to more than a few drivers being out of position from early mistakes. And one other that might happen, Eisler is being caught by Francisco Montini bit by bit. This is for P4.
I've been watching Francisco Montini close that gap onto Christian Eisler right now, a little bit by a little bit. He's still got a several car length gap over Montini, but as they make the run to turn 10, let's see how late we see Francisco Montini get on the brake. He closes in. This could be a good braking off corner turn 10. Out of there they go under the bridge, Suzuki Bridge, into turn 11. It probably got a little bit closer through that time, but we still have about 2 laps left to go.
Yeah, based on the rate that he's been catching him, I'm thinking it's going to have to be a last lap, last-ditch effort from Francisco Montini to take that spot away. And not sure if he's willing to throw the race away when he's got a good result on his hands here. Federico going to take
trouble in turn 1. We have Aaron Thacker lose it again in turn 1. Nearly collected Jorge Flores, but was able to make aggressive maneuvers to get away from that incident. Aaron Thacker, all that hard work he has, going to drop him probably right outside the top 10.
Cue David Bowie and Freddie Mercury, because under pressure, Aaron Thacker certainly cracked. That was Flores, as you mentioned, gaining and didn't even have to make the overtake, just watched him spin away. Thacker continues in 10th. White flag has finally flown, and Karl Modoff looks like he is going to be taking a victory lap here today. The Club West driver did not lead every single lap, but the only ones that he did not lead were during the pit stops. It's been some good racing. The intro that I talked about has been prophetic for this race. Karl Modoff basically dominating everything, while the rest of the drivers give us an incredible show. So as he comes down the backstretch for the final time, in the end, the gap is looking like it'll be a monstrous 19 seconds from Karl back to Federico. This has been one of the more flawless drives for this green, white, and black Porsche. The number 48 through the chicane, up and under the Suzuki Bridge, and down the hill. Karl Modoff continues his winning streak with his 6th out of 6 races. 6th place is not for sure. Federico could get his 2nd podium of the season. Leif Peterson is going to follow him home as they come off the last chicane. Federico takes 2nd. Leif takes 3rd. And then a disappointed Christian Eisler finding himself going from the front row down to 4th, just ahead of Francisco Montini in P5.
The battle for P9 is still heating up. Aaron Thacker trying to regain that position he lost. This is Lucio Vargas in front of them. Thacker forward in the 4, trying to close up. He gets a great exit off of turn 10. He might try to stick his nose to the inside as we see Vargas block a little bit going in there. Out of turn 12 he goes. I think Vargas is going to get the position. Aaron Thacker, though, still gets a top 10 finish here at Road Atlanta.
Whew. Barely a 10th between them at the line. The last of the cars coming across with only 13 on the lead lap. That'll bring us to our break here in the broadcast, but it's not the end of the broadcast. We'll have the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around because we have all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome back to Road Atlanta. We just watched round 6 of the American iRacing Tuesday series, and we were right. We were in for a stunner, but not really for the lead. Karl Modoff just ran off into the sunset with this one, taking the victory by 18, nearly 19 seconds at the line. Federico Montini was a little bit up and down, started from 7th place, managed to finish in P2 in the end, and the podium rounded out by Leif Peterson, getting himself another podium finish. Christian Eisler, however, did not, having to settle for 4th place, holding off the likes of Francisco Montini all the way down to the checkered flag. Jorge Flores, I think he's not going to be happy with that one, especially considering he started in 3rd and was sent back to the back of the pack on the first lap, still managed 6th place. It was essentially a recovery drive day for him. Cristobal Valenzuela finishes in P7 with Jean-Marc Tremblay, the teammate to Flores, taking home 8th. Lucio Vargas comes home in 9th, and Aaron Thacker rounds out the top 10.
Lee Lucas will come home in 11th position, followed by Fernando Borda in the 12th position. Joey Trungale will come home in 13th position, as he will be the last car on the lead lap, followed by Corey Clark, Rodrigo Munoz, James LeBlanc, Hugo Galaz, as will round out in 17th, as Jeff Jacobson, Danny Duchesne, Jerome Berfiume, Takeshi Kita, Mike Griffith, and Simon Avital did not finish the race. So unfortunate for those drivers. But Joe, let's bring in our winner here today, as you're with Karl Modoff.
Absolutely. And Karl joins us on a day that, well, I'm not sure exactly what to talk to him about. Karl, seems like you were just sipping tea up at the front there.
I wish. It wasn't that easy. That was, last year we had this race, and it was an hour-long race, and I miscalculated my fuel and had to pit twice and got 2 cut track penalties. So I wanted to make sure I didn't do that again. I practiced a bunch earlier in the year for this event. So, yeah, it went pretty well. Yeah, it was good.
You've now won 6 out of 6 rounds. We've got 2 left. Is a sweep possible? Are you even considering that? Or are you putting it out of your mind?
Yeah, I'm not really. I didn't think I'd be able to win this many races to start the season. So at this point, yeah, it would be kind of cool if I could win them all after losing, coming in 2nd last season. So I am kind of shooting for that at this point. That wasn't my goal at all, but as the season kind of went around, my pace has been really good, and the Porsche's been awesome. So that's for now is the goal. Might as well try and go all out.
Of course, might as well achieve perfection. Well, how does Spa weigh into that? Is that a track that you feel pretty strong? You mentioned that this one didn't feel so strong for you last season. What was Spa like for you back in the previous season?
Yeah, Spa's one of those tracks that's probably my favorite track to drive, and I always look forward to going there, and then I usually am terrible. It's one of those things. It's hard to wrap your head around. It's like, this is my favorite track to drive, but I can't just figure it out. So yeah, I made a bunch of mistakes last season. So yeah, hopefully if I can turn Spa around like I did Road Atlanta, that'd be a pretty cool.
Well, we look forward to seeing you in a week's time, and go celebrate with whoever is having fun in the background there. Congratulations on another victory.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Thank you.
That was Karl Modoff, our winner here today. The only winner we've had all season. Taylor's going to talk to 3rd place, though. Leif Peterson with another podium.
Hey, guys. Indeed, with Leif Peterson. Leif, congratulations on your 3rd place, but had quite a battle earlier today as we saw you racing with the Montini brothers. Tell us about that battle that you had late in the race.
Yeah, they got in front of me, and I was just going to mind my business and maintain a gap, and I had a couple breaks, and I was trying to hold off. Who was I battling with?
Federico, I believe it was.
Federico, thank you. And yeah, he was just too fast. So I just thought I would maintain the gap and not get to do anything crazy to try to hold him off. He made a mistake in 10B, 10A trying to come in, and he got it right the next time.
Well, that was quite the battle, but we did see that you did get the third position. But as we go into the next round at Spa, do you feel like maybe you could try to go one better position, or maybe even in a long shot take the fight to Karl Modoff?
No, Carl's too fast. I'm just here to have fun and try to have a clean race and enjoy some good battles and some good clean racing.
Oh, yes, indeed. And it's been a joy to watch you in this series along with the Autobahn series. Great to always see you on board here in the series, Leaf. Again, congratulations on your third place finish here at Road Atlanta.
Thank you, guys.
That was Leif Peterson, your third place finisher here today.
And that's actually going to close out our interviews. I guess Frederico didn't want to come and talk to us here today. Certainly would have been neat to get to hear his perspective on that battle. Before we go, we want to give another thank you to SIMMSA. That is the Simulation Motorsports Association. And once again, you can find them at SIMMSA.net. They offer solutions for racing simulator requirements, custom-built simulator parts, complete customization, and upgrading of existing simulators. Another thank you as well to Inspectoride. If you want to check out that free download that we mentioned, that is a free trial, you can find it at inspectoride.com/iRacing. Definitely go and give that a look if you work on a lot of cars and have to keep track of the conditions of all of them. Another thank you goes out to iRacing for bringing us onto the IESN. While you're here, make sure and subscribe. It's that big red button that says subscribe. That's all you got to do to make sure that it shows up in your feed. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. You can see them listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Taylor, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. The next race, as we mentioned, we're heading over to Belgium. That'll be Tuesday, February 12th at 9 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.